if you haven't seen or heard by now, and I'm sure you have, The Iron Claw is now playing in movie theaters all around North America. Of course, that being the movie based on the Texas family of the Von Erichs. Fritz being the father, and the sons, David, Kevin, Carrie, Mike. And unfortunately, Chris doesn't get mentioned in the movie, from what I understand. But there's reasons why. I guess they kind of said they're going to make Mike and Chris's character as one because they felt with A, time, and B, so much tragedy in the movie, in the story, right? We all know the story. It just may be way too much. But I thought, hey, let's go through the wrestling magazines now and see how many magazine covers I have with the Von Erich boys on the cover. Unfortunately, I'm missing 3 vital magazines that I don't have yet. A, because they're pretty pricey to get, and B, they're just hard to find too for eBay Canada. I can see them on ebay.com, but with the exchange and everything, it's just way too much. That being the PWI magazine with Kerry Von Erich with the NWA World title, the PWI magazine with all the brothers on it together. I think it's Kerry, Kevin, Mike, and Chris, I want to say. And then, of course, Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornadoes WWF magazine with the Intercontinental Championship. I don't have those. I'd like to have them. Maybe one day I will. And when I do, I will show those in a video just on their own. But for today, let's just go through what we have so far to show. When I went through this, my first noticeable magazine that came up here was Sports Review Wrestling. That was the first time a Von Erich made the cover, and that was David Von Erich. It said, "Watch Me Crumble, Wrestling's Legends." So David Von Erich, of course, the oldest of the family for the brothers, he was the one who first made, let me get that better there, that first made the cover, of course, you know. Why not, right? He's the first one in it. But interesting enough, the next magazine I found, May 83 of The Wrestler, it has Kerry Von Erich, Harley Race will be my stepping stone to the NWA title. So Kevin Von Erich doesn't really get any magazine coverage right off the bat, right? It's David, now Kerry, and we finally see Kevin here on Sports Review Wrestling. This is August 83, because it's the Freebirds and the Von Erich feud. And there's David, Kevin, and Kerry right there. And I got to say one thing, too, while I'm looking at that. I feel like at first I was like, really? Zac Efron as Kevin? But then I saw the clips of the movie on YouTube, and yeah, it kind of works. It does. I mean, they kind of picked the right guys to play the character, as weird as that is. So I'm really intrigued by this movie. I really am. I honestly can't wait to see it. Sports Review Wrestling, September 83, and we get everyone on the cover, and there's a rare shot of Kevin in wrestling boots. And I guess the story goes, I believe I heard Kevin went to the show and forgot his boots and wrestled barefoot one day and said, "That's it, I like doing that. I'm going to stick with barefoot for wrestling." But there they are right there. Kevin, Fritz, David, and Kerry on the cover of Sports Review Wrestling, September 83. Inside Wrestling, November 83, we get a small dose of Kevin Von Erich here. It's Kevin Von Erich versus Harley Race. How brotherly love cost Von Erich the NWA World title. That, of course, was when World Class Championship Wrestling was a part of the NWA. Inside Wrestling, January 84. Will the NWA ban the claw hold? David Von Erich, I'll quit if they do. There's a nice shot of David there. And it's funny, the guy who plays David Von Erich in the movie straight out said, he goes, I felt like I didn't really have to work out because David didn't really have the physique that Kevin or Kerry had. And looking at that photo there of David, I have to agree with that. David Von Erich definitely did not have the muscular physique that his younger brothers would portray in the wrestling business. February 84 of The Wrestler. David Von Erich is wrestling's most vicious opponent. This is true. So David Von Erich left Texas and chose to go down to Florida for a while. And he ended up becoming a heel, a villain in Florida, along with Dory Funk Jr., and terrorized the good guys of the Florida area for wrestling. That would be championship wrestling from Florida, of course. The wrestler from April of '84. Here we get exclusive, the pro debut of the youngest Von Erich, introducing Mike Von Erich. So there's Mike there. It looks like he's got General Skandor Akbar in some sort of hold. And so Mike now into the wrestling business as well. Sports Review Wrestling, April '84. Sunshine begs the fans, convince Kevin Von Erich to let me be his valet. So, yes, Jimmy Garvin wrestling in Texas as well. There's a guy, too, by the way, Jimmy Garvin, who he did so much. It's crazy. Jimmy Garvin is... He's the reason why the Road Warriors lost, the AWA tag titles. It was Jimmy Garvin and a wrestler by the name of Steve Regal, not Lord Steven, but Steve Regal, who took the belts off the Road Warriors. So, Jimmy Garvin, amazing talent. Unfortunately now, we have our first tragedy for the Von Erichs, and this is June '84 of the wrestler. David Von Erich will never forget you. A personal message from his family, tributes from his fans and friends, and a career retrospective of David Von Erich, who should have been, and I'm guessing would have been, the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. There was no doubt. They were grooming David into that role. He was going to be the one to upset Flair, because at the time, in that era, no one could have really... I mean, Flair just won the belt back from Harley Race at Starrcade, and Dusty Rhodes was busy in Mid-Atlantic doing tag title stuff with Manny Fernandez. Florida, I think, I really don't know what was going on in Florida at the time. I mean, probably Mike Graham was probably the one there who would have been gunning. But it looked like it was going to be David, and it didn't happen. But September '84 of the wrestler, Von Erich did win the belt from Flair, and it was Kerry. Kerry Von Erich wins the NWA World title for David, for Texas, and for wrestling. But Ric Flair says, Kerry's just borrowing my belt. And yes, that is true. I believe it was 3 weeks later, Ric Flair won back the world title in Japan off Kerry Von Erich. Sports Review Wrestling, November '84. The race is on. Kerry Von Erich and Billy Jack, which will dominate wrestling in the '80s. High hopes for Billy Jack Haynes here, too. Unfortunately, that didn't play out too well, but Kerry Von Erich also, didn't really play out that well either for Kerry. The world title, 3 weeks, then back to Texas to wrestle in his dad's promotion until he kind of did that thing with the AWA in '88 where they had a unification match, and then off to the WWF for 2 years there. So Wrestling USA Fall '84 has the tribute to David Von Erich, a part of this magazine right there. So if you missed out on getting the wrestler, you get to at least see it in Wrestling USA. Wrestling USA Winter '84, exclusive coverage of a remarkable NWA title reign, Kerry Von Erich's 3 weeks on top of the world. Now, this is the story from the PWI magazine that I don't have. So I'm going to open it up and show you who Kerry fought during that time frame. Let's see here. All right. His title reign. Kerry wins the world title from Flair in Texas Stadium. That was on May 6th. On May 7th, he wrestled Terry Gordy in Texas. May 8th, it was a non-title match against Flair in Oklahoma. May 9th, it was a title match against Flair in Corpus Christi, Texas. May 10th was a non-title match against the Missing Link in Texas. May 11th was a non-title match against Flair in Dallas, Texas. May 12th was a title match with Flair in San Antonio. Texas, May 13th, an afternoon title match in Florida versus Mike Rotundo, and an evening title match against Superstar Graham in Orlando, Florida. So, Kerry was hitting up the Florida area there, defending the title now. We got May 14th, a world title match against Ron Bass in Florida. May 15th, a world title match with Mike Rotundo in Florida. May 16th, a world title match with Superstar Billy Graham in Florida. May 17th, a world title match with Black Bart in Florida. May 18th, a world title match with Superstar Billy Graham in Lake City, Florida. May 19th, a title match with Ron Bass in Tampa, Florida. And then May 20th, the travel date going to Japan. May 21st, he had a day off. May 22nd, a title match with Jumbo Tsuruta in Tokyo, Japan. The next day, the 23rd, was a day off. And then finally, May 24th, Ric Flair regains title in Yokosuka City, Japan. There it is. For anyone that wanted to know Kerry's world title history, it's right there. Those dates. Apparently, it was just pretty much Texas and Florida, and then Japan, and then it was over for Kerry Von Erich. Winter '84, Victory Sports Wrestling. We get a Kerry Von Erich, what he must do to wear the NWA belt again. There's a shot of Kerry again with the belt from when he had it for those 3 weeks. The Wrestler, January '85. Kerry Von Erich, I've got Ric Flair's NWA title within my grasp. Yes, Kerry did have many rematches with the Nature Boy. Unfortunately, fell short each time as Ric Flair kept retaining that championship. So now we have PWI award. Now Kerry won one here. Let's see what it is. Of course. So he's on the cover of the March '85 with Flair and the Road Warriors and Paul Ellering. And yes, he did win Most Popular Wrestler of the Year with 12,720 votes. Runners-up were Hogan, Dusty, and Sergeant Slaughter. Kerry Von Erich over like Rover in 1984 to get that award. Victory Sports Magazine, spring of '85. We got Kerry Von Erich wins the title for David for Texas for Wrestling. It's a recap story of that other magazine cover there I just showed you. Like I said, Victory Sports Wrestling, Wrestling USA, just kind of rehash the old stories you may have missed out on, so you can finally at least read them now. April '85 for Sports Review Wrestling. Kerry Von Erich's warning, Crusher Blackwell is not to be trusted. So Kerry's definitely out of the title picture now, right? He's just, that's it. I believe World Class is even probably at a, I don't know if they're without, no, they're probably still in the NWA. So it looks like magazine covers here, it shows Flair still with Von Erich. So, but I know soon enough, they're going to be pulling out of the NWA. But Victory Sports Wrestling, summer of '85, we got Kerry Von Erich, the NWA titles within my grasp. Again, just like that, the other magazine cover I just showed you. So, again, just rehashing an old story. Inside Wrestling, September '85, Ric Flair. Now you know I'm the best. There he is with Kevin Von Erich. That would be, I believe, from the second annual David Von Erich Parade of Champions card. Wrestling USA Fall '85. The Von Erich Dynasty. The kid who will lead them into the 21st century. So yeah, that is from the PWI magazine I don't have. There's Chris, Mike, Kevin, and Kerry. So, I'm hoping to get that magazine one day. Maybe I'll just bite the bullet and just pay out the money just to get it to complete that year and then be done with it. Victory Sports Wrestling, Fall '85. We get why Kerry Von Erich risked his future to wrestle Kamala. So there we got Kamala and Von Erich going at it in World Class. Wrestling Superstars, Winter '85. We get a dreams match here. We got Hulk Hogan and Kerry Von Erich as a tag team. And there's a rare shot again of Kerry with the NWA World Championship. Hogan with no championship. I believe that photo from Hogan's probably from the AWA. That's why. Victory Sports Wrestling, Winter '85. We got the Kerry Von Erich workout. It's even tougher than wrestling. So there's a nice shot there of Kerry on the cover. Next up, Inside Wrestling, January '86. We got Mike Von Erich's courageous fight for life. So yes, Mike Von Erich also having issues. He injured his shoulder, I believe it was, and then he ended up having an infection, and I believe, and had a high temperature. It wasn't looking good. In PWI, February 86, talk about it. Mike Von Erich's brush with death. Tragedy has made my family stronger by Kevin Von Erich. So again, the Von Erich, was it a curse? Is there a curse? I don't know. It's hard to say. It seemed like that for a lot of the time. The Wrestler, March 86. Lance Von Erich stuns Ric Flair. I finally earned the Von Erich name. Cousin Lance, right? Yes, Cousin Lance. Lance, of course, not really a real cousin, just some muscled up guy who looked good, who Fritz said, we need another Von Erich in the territory, so we'll create Lance Von Erich. And I believe the brothers did not really care for that at the time, but their dad knows best, so they went with it. And Lance, I think Lance had some success there in World Class, clearly, but I don't think even the fans really bought it too much. I think they knew something was fishy with Lance appearing out of nowhere. Victory Sports Wrestling, Spring 86. The new Kevin Von Erich. I'm not going to be stepped on anymore by anyone. So, again, that looks like it's from the David Von Erich Parade of Champions when he didn't defeat Flair that day. It was a double countout in that world title match, unfortunately. May 86 of The Wrestler, Von Erich family feud. Is Lance coming between Kevin and Kerry? So there we see Kevin, Lance, and Kerry on the cover. And, Lance, I guess, kind of looks like a Von Erich, so I guess I give it that much, but that's about all we can say about that. The Wrestler, June 86. Kerry reveals his secret. I've told Magnum TA how to beat Ric Flair. Now, isn't there an ironic picture too? We might as well not shy away. Both men had horrific accidents while driving. Of course, Magnum TA in his automobile, where he should have died in that car crash. If you ever see the car, oh my God, I don't know how Magnum survived that. And of course, Kerry Von Erich with the motorcycle accident in his ankle and having to get his foot amputated. So, yeah. And Kerry still wrestled with a prosthetic leg, like prosthetic foot. Like, that's crazy. I had no idea about that, by the way, at all until I was much older. And I couldn't believe that. Then I'd go back and watch the videos of him wrestling and try to figure out, well, which leg is it? Because, man, they both look pretty decent. Like his WWF run, against like Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam and such. I'm like, man, that guy's doing a 360 spin and he's not falling down. He's pivoting. Is he pivoting on the wooden leg? Is he pivoting on his real? I had no idea. Amazing. Summer of 86 for Wrestling USA. Kevin Von Erich, the Lone Star Hero, must move on. The Wrestler, April 87. Down at the bottom, Kevin Von Erich's message to his fans: I'm a champion you can be proud of. And Wrestling Superstar, summer of 87. We get Kevin Von Erich on the cover here with a lot of greats there like Hogan and the Road Warriors. So very, very cool. That's for the greatest battle royal ever. Sports Review Wrestling, August 87. Kevin Von Erich takes on Nord the Barbarian. The test of a man, the test of a champion. Of course, Nord the Barbarian, John Nord, probably famous for being the Berserker or the Viking in the WWF from 1991 through 93. So that was his biggest fame, I guess, was John Nord's era there in the WWF. We got Victory Sports Wrestling, Winter 87. We have a special interview, just Kerry Von Erich on the cover here. I'm guessing that's from The Wrestler or Inside Wrestling or one of those magazines. There was an interview with Kerry, and they're showing it again in this one. April 88. We got down here a picture of Kerry Von Erich. I don't know what's that for anyway. It just says World Class. It just says that's it, and it just has Kerry Von. It must be some show that World Class put on, but there's Kerry doing a flex there and a pose. This is a magazine cover I always digged. It was really cool. July 88, a toast to wrestling's odd couple, Kerry Von Erich and Michael Hayes unite. Kerry with the glass of milk, and of course, Michael Hayes with the glass of Jack Daniels. How fitting there. Look at that. Very cool. That'd be an awesome poster, actually, back in the day. That would be very cool. Inside Wrestling, September 88. We get another parade of champions for world class, and I believe that's Kerry Von Erich choking out Iceman King Parsons with a some sort of cable from a video camera. The Wrestler, December 88. This is the big one between Kerry Von Erich and Jerry the King Lawler for the World Class Championship Wrestling and the AWA World Heavyweight titles. Of course, Lawler would also put up the Memphis CWA Championship that he had to at the time, and the Wrestler walked out with 3 title belts. That was a huge unification at the time, and unfortunately, it didn't lead to anything special, though. It just led to the USWA, and yeah, that was pretty much just Memphis Wrestling in the end. Fall 88. Wrestling USA, again, we get the Kerry Von Erich and Michael Hayes thing there, a toast to wrestling's odd couple, so the story is in there as well, just like on that cover there, only it's a smaller version of it. Wrestling Superstars, Winter 88. Wrestling Sexiest Superstar, Kerry Von Erich is there along with Hulk Hogan, Lex Luger, and Ravishing Rick Rude. And now for March 89, PWI, we get Kerry Von Erich on the cover of this. I don't think he won any awards that year, but he's on the cover. Let me take a look and see. I don't know why he'd be on the cover. Unless he did win an award, I just don't know what it would be. Unless he won... No, Inspirational went to Jerry Lawler. Rookie was Medusa. Sting was Most Improved. Feud of the Year was Flair and Luger. Most Popular was probably Hogan, I guess. If I can get the page open. No, Savage, yeah. Most Hated was Andre. Yeah, so I don't know why Kerry Von Erich was on the cover there, but there he is. The Wrestler, April 89, the Super Clash, Super Controversy, were they right to stop the Lawler-Von Erich bout? So the story behind this is, if you don't know or if you haven't seen it, Super Clash 3 was the big pay-per-view for the AWA World Class Championship Wrestling and CWA from Memphis. The main event, like I said, Kerry Von Erich defending his World Class title against Jerry Lawler, who was defending the AWA and CWA titles in the big unification match. Before the match started, Kerry messed up and cut his arm with the blade by accident, and so they had to right off the bat put his arm on the ring post to make it look like Lawler split it open, and then Kerry bladed way too deep and such, and blood. There was so much blood, and I don't know if that was the point to do that, but because I think the point was probably to stop the match from blood loss. But man, Kerry was a bloody mess, and of course Lawler won the match because of the referee stopping the bout, and awarded all the belts to Jerry the King Lawler. Inside Wrestling, April 89. There's, again, Super Clash 3, Von Erich versus Lawler, and there's a pile driver getting ready to be happening there on Lawler from Kerry Von Erich, which is ironic since Jerry Lawler was known for doing the pile driver most of the time. 4. The PWI, September 89. It's the sensational 10th anniversary issue. We get Von Erich and Flair in the top corner there from the Parade of Champions when Kerry won the NWA title back in 84. Inside Wrestling, March 90. Again, it's talking about the 80s, and we get to see the Von Erich family there, Fritz, Kevin, David, and Kerry from early on. Oh, I need a new one of those eventually. I see the cover came off of that. So, Wrestling Superstars, October 90, ranking the 50 strongest men in the sport, and we see Kerry Von Erich along with the Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Sting, and the total package, Lex Luger. It's a good group of powerful men to be compared to, that's for sure. December 90, New Blood and Bad Blood in the WWF. We see the Legion of Doom, Sergeant Slaughter, and Kerry Von Erich as the Texas Tornado now in the WWF. The Wrestler, December 1990. Down at the bottom here, we see SummerSlam coverage. There's the Texas Tornado and Mr. Perfect. Of course, Kerry Von Erich here wearing white trunks with the yellowish green knee pads, which I thought was kind of weird because in the interview before the match took place, Kerry was wearing like the same matching trunks as the knee pads. So within that time period, he must have changed and opted to go with the white trunks instead. And I always thought that was weird. I guess that must have been a pre-taped interview for sure for that to happen. December 90 for Sports Review Wrestling. Again, the photo of the Texas Tornado with the Intercontinental title there from SummerSlam. That would be his only championship he would hold in the World Wrestling Federation. He held it from August at SummerSlam 1990 until November of 1990. Actually, he lost it days before Survivor Series 90. I didn't know this till I just looked it up. I was going through the history of WWE.com. They have a complete arena results from every house show, every TV taping and such. And the Superstars show that Kerry lost the belt on didn't air until December 1990. But they filmed it, like the match took place days before Survivor Series. So Mr. Perfect had already won the Intercontinental Championship days before, but still at Survivor Series, Kerry had to wear the title because the match hadn't shown on TV yet. So Kerry Von Erich was still the Intercontinental Champion at Survivor Series. What a weird time frame when you can tape things, right? No internet was out back then, so you had no idea. That's so crazy to think that. PWI, January 91, which is better, WWF or NWA? We got Warrior and Sting, Hogan, Flair, and of course, Kerry Von Erich and the Total Package, Lex Luger, facing off against each other. Sports Review Wrestling, March 91. It is the year in pictures. And we, for 1990, we look at that, we got Kerry Von Erich right there. That's a good shot of the Texas Tornado, who had he really did. He had a great 1990 in the WWF, no doubt. For January 93 for PWI, there's the only thing in here is this is the last interview you'll see of the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich. I guess he's just Kerry Von Erich here because it says right here, Kerry, you're no longer in the WWF. Were you happy there? But he says, yes, I was, Chris, and Vince McMahon was a man of his word, and he never went back on it. I don't have a bad thing to say about him. Now, as far as the way they present their wrestling, the issues, while some of them are kind of a way out, you know? So being that Kerry just was not happy wrestling for the WWF anymore, and he went back to Texas, did some stuff there. I think he went to Global Wrestling Federation, and I do know he wrestled for ECW in the early stages. It was like January 90. It was actually right before he passed away. It was like January 93. They had a ECW show, and this was when ECW was still like using old WWF or old NWA stars as their main attractions for one-offs, and Kerry Von Erich was one of them. So he did compete in ECW. And of course, the last magazine issue that Kerry made the cover of is a sad one. It's June 1993 of The Wrestler. Kerry Von Erich commits suicide, the family's fifth tragic death. I'm going to open up here and see the layout for that, unfortunately. Let's see what they say. Okay, here we go, page 40. Here we are. Kerry Von Erich commits suicide. What a crazy caption that is. Unfortunately, it was true, though. And The Wrestler did a good job here. They went through and highlighted a lot of Kerry's stuff. So it's pretty good. I guess that's it. Yeah. But still, crazy. Just crazy. So there it is. The Von Erich family. So my memories of the Von Erichs, they go like this. I knew about them from the wrestling magazines, of course. Now, I believe I remember seeing Kerry Von Erich wrestle on USWA from Texas. I did get that. Show on channel 38, WADL TV 38 from Detroit, Michigan, and they showed USWA wrestling on it. I remember seeing the Natural Dustin Rhodes there. I remember seeing Primetime Brian Lee there. I remember seeing Billy Joe Travis there. So I remember him and Dustin had a feud too there. And of course, I remember seeing Kerry Von Erich wrestle there. Just Kerry. I didn't see Kevin wrestle. It was just Kerry. And then I remember watching Saturday night's main event. I believe it was the July 1991. And Playboy Buddy Rose was on Saturday night's main event. And who's he wrestling? Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado now, as they're calling him. I was like, holy, the Texas Tornado. That's kind of cool. And I thought, wow, there's Kerry Von Erich. He's in the WWF. Before you know it, weeks later, wrestling Mr. Perfect for the Intercontinental Championship. It was supposed to be Brutus Barber Beefcake. As we all know, Beefcake had that accident. Vince McMahon tried to bring in the British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith, to wrestle Mr. Perfect and win the Intercontinental title. Unfortunately, Davey Boy's work visa didn't pan out in time. So Vince went with Kerry Von Erich, and it worked. Kerry Von Erich made a great Intercontinental champion. Tag matches with Kerry and Warrior, who was champion at the time, against Mr. Perfect and Ravishing Rick Rude were entertaining and good. Unfortunately, that didn't last long because Rude would leave before Survivor Series 1990. He would go to he would just leave. He wasn't happy with the WWF and left. So, but that would have been a great Saturday night's main event tag team match. I think that could have been a good one. So yeah, Kerry Von Erich, the Texas Tornado. He was cool. I had his action figure, the Hasbro one. Made him champion many times in my Fed. He was cool. I liked Kerry Von Erich. Can't really say much about David or Kevin. Not really that familiar with them, except for stuff I've seen years later from, WWE Network or DVDs or YouTube or whatnot. But both guys really, really were good. Like really good guys, like really great wrestlers they were. And of course, I've seen the Dark Side of the Ring episode with the Von Erichs as well, which was out a few years ago. I'm probably going to give that a watch again before I check out the Iron Claw. Now, I don't know if I'm going to go to the theater to see the Iron Claw or just wait until it hits Blu-ray. I'm not really a big fan of theater watching because there's people around I don't know and don't like, and I just rather be in my comfort of my own home. So I think I just may wait till the Blu-ray comes out and check it out then. So anyone who's watching this, tell me, what is your favorite Von Erich memory and moment? Who was your favorite Von Erich? Was it Kerry? Was it Kevin? Was it David? Was it Mike? Heck, was it even Chris? I don't know. I mean, all those guys did compete in the wrestling ring at least once in their careers, right? My favorite, of course, was Kerry, just because he's the only one I'm really familiar with and really remember watching and knowing. But again, like I said, Kevin and David, and I'm guessing Mike was good. Like I said, I didn't really see Mike wrestle. Maybe that's something I should look into. Maybe I should go to the WWE Network and check out the World Class Championship Wrestling shows that are on there. And because right now I feel like I'm in a Von Erich craze. It's a Von Erich time period thanks to that movie, The Iron Claw, coming out. So I may as well watch them. All right. Again, until I do my next one, I will talk to you guys later.